Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the new film Superman Legacy, directed by James Gunn. It is the first film in the slate of films for the DCU, or as I like to call it, the Gunniverse, but I guess that one doesn't, people haven't caught on to that one yet, but yeah, this is the James Gunn universe, replacing Zack Snyder as the head of the last universe, the DCEU. And James Gunn wanted to start it right with Superman, originally titled Superman Legacy. But they dropped the legacy for some reason. And this film stars David Corenswet, Nicholas Hoult, Rachel Brosnahan, and a whole bunch of other actors. And it follows Superman in his third year as Superman. I guess he's out to the world as a hero, and he gets involved in some conflict, some war, and he gets put on blast for his involvement and what he did. And that kind of sets the film in motion. But before we get into all that stuff, I remind you guys to please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on all my socials, Instagram, Twitter, do all that stuff. All those links will be in the description below. And yeah, with that being said, let's get into the review. So Superman, like I said, this is in his third year of being Superman, and he's out to the world. And like I said, he gets involved into a conflict in another country that's involved in some war, and he actually puts a stop to the war. And that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. They say he's getting involved in foreign affairs, and they're saying that he didn't ask permission to do so by the military, and he acted on his own. And that becomes a big problem for people. Even though he doesn't see it that way, he sees it as he stopped a potential war, and yeah, he's being put on blast for it. And so that's really what sets some of the events into motion. You get Nicholas Hoult. He plays Lex Luthor. He was just in last year. He was just in Nosferatu, which I saw, which was really good. And he plays the amalgamation of, I can say, he plays an amalgamation of all Lex Luthors. The Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor with some of his mannerisms. The, like, mustache-twirling villain nature of the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor. And he plays the kind of seriousness and the, I'd say more, let's say threatening. I don't know if say threatening, but the more serious, like villain nature of the Kevin Spacey Lex Luthor. And so I think he takes inspiration from all three. I think in an interview he talked about he took inspiration from Hackman and Jesse Eisenberg, but he plays it really well. Nicholas Hoult, he's very charismatic as the character. He makes you hate his character throughout the whole movie. Like, he's just a D1 hater for Superman. And I think he does it really well. I think he, like I said, he has the mannerisms of being a villain. He, you know, the way he looks when Superman's fighting, he's looking at him like, and he's getting beat up, he's looking at him like, yes, this is my creation. My creation is taking down a god. And he's very up his own ass, as they say. And Nicholas Hoult plays him perfectly. I think that was great casting there, no problem there. You have Rachel Brosnahan, who plays Lois Lane. She plays a more, I wouldn't say a modern take on Lois Lane. I'd say she's about the same as Margot Kidder. And what's her name? Amy Adams? Is that her name? Yeah, Amy Adams, who plays Lois Lane in the Superman 23rd and the Man of Steel. And she's about the same. I think she does. It feels like she does more reporting in this movie. I guess the most we got, it was the Lois Lane in the what do you call it? Lois Lane in the original films with Margot Kidder, and I think she does some reporting. She's, you know, talks to Superman, and there's no hiding. She knows that Clark Kent is Superman, and that was explained in the trailer, so that's nothing new for the viewer when they go to watch the movie. And so she knows that Clark Kent is Superman. She knows all that. There's no like build up. Is Lois Lane gonna find out my secret identity? She just knows. And so I think it's good we didn't have to go through all that. We didn't really have to go through an origin story. They explained his origin throughout this movie, but we didn't have to go sit through a whole new origin story like we did with Man of Steel and everything. We're just kind of thrown into the universe. And I will say, when the movie first opens, that it starts out with text. It's like, so many years ago this happened, so many years ago this happened, and it's like 3 hours ago this happened, and then it shows that scene from the trailer. When the trailer dropped, it shows him falling into the snow. And so that's where we're kind of thrown into. I was like, I wonder how this is going to play out, because in the when you get into the beginning of the trailer and everything, it makes it look like it's like this happens and then this happens, but like that's the first thing that we get thrown into is that particular scene, the one that everybody kind of made fun of. They say, "Oh, the sun hurts Superman." It's like, no, the sun heals Superman, and people weren't getting that when that trailer dropped. Um, but um, but yeah, I think in that regards, I think so. There's no build up to them finding out each other. They just kind of know each other. They know the secrets and everything. So we're not having to go through that whole song and dance thing again. Um, and I guess finally we'll talk about is cast wise is David Cornsweet. A lot of people were very hilarious about this guy being Superman. He's done movies before. Like he was just in Twisters last year, and he was in Pearl a couple years before that. And I guess fairly new to Hollywood or whatever, and fairly new becoming a leading man. And I think he does a good job. I think he definitely looks the part. I think it was kind of funny when they dropped the picture of him as Clark Kent, when he has the like shaggy hair and everything, and the glasses, and everybody um, everybody is like making fun of it. It's like, oh, he's got the broccoli hair. It's like, yeah, it's like that to me. That made sense that he has that type of haircut. That he had is like, okay, so he's like, you got this guy with like this stupid Gen Z haircut and he wears glasses. It's like, that's not a guy you're gonna think is automatically Superman, even though he looks just like him. It's like, take off the glasses and he looks just like Superman. But he wears hair different. He talks different as Clark Kent. He talks different as Superman. He, like I said, he has a whole demeanor about himself. Like when he's talking to somebody, he's looking or whatever he's looking at, but he's like talking to somebody. And he's a deeper voice as Clark Kent. He's not trying to be like goofy or anything like that. He just looks goofy. But I think it was smart that they didn't just give him like slick his hair back or whatever. And it's like, oh, this is Clark Kent. It's like they made him look, somewhat different, where people are like, they have to take a second look. You know what I mean? And I guess people didn't understand that. They just thought the haircut looked stupid, which I think the haircut looks stupid too. But I think in this case, it makes sense for this movie. But as Superman himself, as we see him get into this, get into all the battles and everything, and we see him flying around. Some of the flying scenes are pretty badass in this movie. He's pretty badass as Superman. He does get, like I said, his butt handed to him quite a few times. Like I said, he's still learning. I think he's still learning his powers and everything, and he's still trying to figure out his own strength and stuff like that. And I think with him being this, with him taking this role, I think he's very much an amalgamation. Like I said, he's an amalgamation, just as Nicholas Hoult is an amalgamation of all the Lex Luthors. I think he's an amalgamation of all the Supermen. I mean, you have the color, the vibrance of the Christopher Reeve Superman. You have the brutality of the Henry Cavill Superman. Henry Cavill Superman was pretty brutal, and you have the soft nature of the the Brandon Routh Superman, and I guess you want to throw in the TV. So I haven't really watched the TV Superman. I know Dean Cain, Tom Welling, and the other guy, Taylor. I can't say his last name. I'm sorry. But you could throw all those guys in there. I think there's an amalgamation of all those characters, all those actors in his interpretation. And it's funny when Henry Cavill, when he reached out to Henry Cavill to ask like any tips with Superman, he just said make it your own. And I think he did make it his own, but I think he took inspiration from all of those sources, or at least that's what I want to believe, is that he took inspiration from all that. I think he looks the part. He's a good looking guy. He's physically there. I mean, we don't really get to see him without his shirt on, but when you see him in Clark Kent, where he's wearing just his work shirt and everything, you can see the guy is built. We didn't get a shirtless scene like they did in Man of Steel, so we don't really get to see that. But I'm thinking he's gonna get. I'm thinking he's gonna get maybe a couple one of those in the future. And he did sign on to do a sequel. He did sign on to do Superman again, so we will see him as Superman again. I mean, that's I wouldn't understand why we wouldn't, but he's gonna be doing Superman again. But I think he has all the attributes. He has a nice demeanor. He has the he's just like a very friendly guy and everything. He has the physical. He has the the rage aspect of it, and he just has like he's just like somebody you feel like you can, you know, you can trust. He feels like a character. He feels like a version of this character that it doesn't feel all dark and brooding. Like, I like the Henry Cavill Superman. I like the Zack Snyder movies for the most part. But I feel like that Superman, you know, when you see that costume and you see everything, you think dark and brooding and serious. But this one, he's like, oh, he's got, you know, he has his underwear on the outside of his uniform, and he's got the light blue, and he's like, you know, happy. He's smiling all the time, you know, except when the people are, you know, mobbing him. But he seems like he's a very happy-go-lucky Superman. He just kind of got thrown into a very bad situation, and the people just doubted him and everything. And I think he does a great job. I'm looking for, and I called it from the get-go. I was pining for this guy to be a good Superman. And even if he wasn't like a tremendous Superman, I still think Christopher Reeve is probably the best version we've gotten ever. But I think David has come in a close second. There's, like I said, there's attributes about every Superman that we've gotten in the movies that has had certain qualities within each other, and I think he brought it. I think he did the same thing. I think he brought all those different adaptations or all those different interpretations of Superman, and he brought it all to his character. And I think it was a better Superman for it. So I think if I was gonna rank the Superman, maybe I'll make that another video. So I won't say here, but I'm sure you probably can guess my ranking. And like I said, the story, I will say one thing about the story. The story is a little all over the place. Like, there's a lot of things that's going on. You got a lot of different characters. You got a lot of different, you know, plot lines and everything. Certain characters that don't come back, like you saw in the trailer, and you think they're going to be a bigger deal, and they're not, but you think they're going to be a bigger deal. Which I guess, you know, there's a lot of characters. You got, not only do you have to deal with Lex Luthor, Superman, and the Lois storyline, but you have to deal with the Justice League, or the Justice Gang as they're called in this movie. So I think they're going to be called Justice League in the future. But you got the Justice League group. You have all the other side characters, Superman's friend Jimmy Olsen, Teschmacher. You have Lex's team of people that he has. You have, you know, Lex Luthor. You have Mephisto. You got the Justice League. You have, you know, just like I said, different side characters in the Daily Planet. You know, you have a ton of characters you're supposed to follow, and you're left with, there's a lot that you have to learn. It's like, you got to learn that this person, and it's just a lot. I think James Gunn, if he would have just, because I liked what we got in the movie, I really did, but I think if he would have just like cut back on some of those characters a little bit, like if he would have just focused on the Clark Kent, you know, that character, those characters, what do you call it, like the Superman like plot, if he would have just focused on that for the majority of the movie, and then, you know, you have like the Guy Gardner, you have the what do you call it? You have the Guy Gardner character, you have Mr. Terrific, and, you know, Hawk Girl, and they come in like later on, like halfway through, is like, can we trust Superman? And then that's when you have the Maxwell Lord character, who's played by Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother. That's when you have that character come in, and you're like, we have a super team, and this, that, and the other, and then, you know, they bring them in, and then they work together at the end of the movie to do that. And I guess I wouldn't say they kind of do that, because they those characters come in early on in the movie, and so, which, by the way, I think all those characters were fine. Mr. Terrific, I think, is the standout one. I think he has a lot more to do in this movie. He's more like the smart, you know, team leader in a way, but he's more like the brains of like the operation. He has a lot of this robotic tech and everything that he uses to his advantage. And then you have Guy Gardner, you know, Green Lantern. He's kind of like the he tries to claim he's the leader, but he's kind of like the hothead. Like he says what he thinks, and he don't care. You know, played by Nathan Fillion. And you have Hawk Girl. She's cool. I mean, she really doesn't get to do a whole lot in the movie, but she's pretty badass when she wants to. You know, and you have those characters. Then you have Mephisto, or not Mephisto, Metamorpho. I said Mephisto early on. I mean, Metamorpho is what I meant to say. um, and you have that character, and that was an interest. I was wondering what they were going to do with that character, and I think it was pretty. I guess he did his part for the movie. So, but it looks like, I guess it looks like he's going to be part of the Justice League in the future. So that'd be interesting to see how they incorporate that. Because I'm pretty sure in the comics he's like kind of a bad guy or an anti-hero or something like that. So I'm curious to see what they do with that. Also, we get cameo from Peacemaker. He shows up in this movie, and I think there's a line in the show where in Peacemaker where he's talking about how Superman has a fetish for he has an excrement fetish. We'll just call it that. And he says a line in the Peacemaker show about Superman has a fetish for that, and then in this movie he's like, oh, the people put hashtag super creep, hashtag super shitter, and Superman's like, I hate that, that's the worst one. And I'm like, it's a callback from the Peacemaker show. It's all like they do callbacks in his own stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny, and I didn't pick that up till earlier when I was watching the clip, and it was that scene from Peacemaker. And so I thought it was kind of funny. So James Gunn, I think he's going to wrap this whole world, wrap up this whole world together, and it's going to make a big, I think, what do you call it? A big universe. And I'm curious to see what he does with Batman. He says Batman's going to be a lot darker than Superman, so I'm curious to see what he does there. I'm hoping it's going to be Alan Richardson is going to be Batman. But if Jensen Ackles gets the role, I think that's probably going to be the main choice, was what they're going for, was Jensen Ackles. So if he gets the role, I mean, that's great on him. But I'm really hoping it's going to be Alan Richardson. I think he can really do something with that role. And with the other movies, Clayface, Lanterns, excited for Lanterns, excited for Season 2 of Peacemaker. And I'm glad that James Gunn took over this universe, and I hope he does well, and I can't wait to see what comes next. So yeah, that's what I think of Superman 2025. I really like the movie. I think you should go out and see it if you're a fan of Superman. Even if you're a Zack Snyder fan out there, I think you might find something to enjoy about this movie. If you don't like Superman, but you might like other stuff. So I think this movie could be for everybody if you just like to sit back and like watch it and you just enjoy the movie for what it is. It is fun. It is entertaining. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. I think if I got time, I might do a ranking of the Superman coming up. So look out for that video, hopefully pretty soon, maybe. So yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.